final presentation all about marriage, and this one is the culminating point out of those three. We're looking at divine union marriage readiness, and we have looked at the introduction of the institution of marriage. Then we looked at different types of marriage, and now we're honing in on that one main type that God has really ordained for us and made sanctified, which is a divine one. Now we're going to look at two types within divine union. There is one that is going to be with God alone, which is kind of like, well, really ultimately depends on what level we are each at. But it can look simply like someone just has pure faith and puts God first, and it's very, very high. It doesn't need a lot of earthen or any really earthen materials unless requested by God. Again, it just depends on the level and what the requests are, and it's about being obedient. It's about discerning what the requests are and following them through. And so that is it. It's just a growing closeness with God. Comprehension and wisdom is being fueled, and you are ascending in that. So that is the highest type of divine union. Some might describe this as a consecration to God alone. Some people might become priests in the priesthood or nuns. That's another way. It's another form if you need a lot of support. And if that is where you're called to actually give a lot of support as well, whether you need it or not. But there may be these different ways of doing this. So that is a very physical temple orientated earthen way of doing it, and of course there's the higher realm way of doing that as well. But it depends what you're called to. You may be called to rise or to lower, because that is part of the cycle of the divine union. You just have to go with whatever you are told to do at that time. Now, the other type of marriage is, yes, divine, but it's also earthen, but not just earthen in terms of what I mentioned before in the church, with a group of people, or like a group of priests or a group of nuns. It is actually taking your highest form, which is the spiritual union with just you and God, but you're taking that on board with another human, specifically in a human marriage, and you're meeting together with them. So these are two different, and I would say they're kind of like three different actually overall, three different types that we're going to be looking specifically at. But the first one has to be present, the highest one, that the intention for the highest one essentially at least needs to be the main outlook and understood before one can enter into a lower realm union within either the temple, meaning the church, with a priesthood or nuns or other types of, depends what church it is, other types of clergy, or, as I say, with another human. If it's to be divine, it must have the intention of putting God first, and it really must have a devotion to doing that in order to be able to be successful in its creation. But we need to understand success means something beyond that of just the earthen way that we might look at success. Success means being most obedient to God, right? Being able to be most obedient to God, hearing God, knowing what it is that you're called to do. That is success, and actually doing it, the application of that, is the success. For example, eventually a couple may be called to part, because Jesus comes to, yes, he will bind together by God, but we know that what's bound in heaven is bound on earth, and what's also loosened in heaven is also loosened on earth. So he not only comes to bind and to bring together, he comes to part as well. And we hear this a little bit further along, as you'll see. Now, this is just an introduction to what's happening on Friday, but it's very important that we get ourselves really made very aware, no matter which one of these types of marriage unions that we want, if we want it to be the best, if we want it to be authentic, if we want it, in other words, to be a divine one, that's the authenticity there, then we really need to focus on all three and understand them. So we're going to be looking at fruits. Now, we talk about the fruits of the Spirit, which are ways of being, experiences that we have, qualities that we have, and ways of conducting ourselves. Now, the fruits of the Spirit really mean that the Spirit's present in our lives, and the closer and more ascended we become, but really it's not like a path up, it's really a path more holy to holy connection. So more wholesome and holistic connection that we have, the more capable we are of walking out certain types of fruits. Now, we need to lean on our own understanding, again, because some people will try to categorise these depending on what types of religion they come from. But we're looking beyond religion. We have to put God first. Now, the fruits of marriage readiness with another human are present only first through comprehension of really important points by the realm and found in communion with the realm of the Holy Spirit. So that's why we take the fruits by the realm of the Holy Spirit. Because we have to look beyond the human as simply a human in order for us to capably be ready to love the entire person unconditionally in a way that will allow for the marriage with that person to be successful. I had quite a bit of feedback and I've really got a lot to share with you. I'm really looking forward to it. Please continue to give me your feedback so that we can draw this in and we can delve further into the communication on this amazing topic. You can email me. Please do share if you want on here as well. Now, to look beyond the human, that's the part we were at, okay? Because some people had said certain things about the human marriage, but it was drawn quite, and I'm not going to share too much just yet, but they were sharing it in a way where it was more cleaving. And cleaving is good and is fine, but we know that even Adam and Eve cleaved to each other. It's not enough. There has to be more of a wider look beyond the human, of the cleaving to the clinging to the person. You have to see beyond them and put God first to do your best for yourself and them and for your union together. So we need to see beyond that and not just the cleaving. But here we go. Now, as I say, looking beyond the human and to the spirit cannot occur in a place if only seeing someone minus the spirit. So if you don't understand that the spirit of a person is important, you're just seeing them in the flesh, and that just means, again, just want to remind people, it doesn't mean just them physically, like seeing their flesh or their skin and how attracted you are to them. It's not just that. It's, again, how the flesh manifests itself on a worldly level. So we're looking at worldly, meaning their interests, their all these other things about them that are kind of just appearing, but aren't quite, they might be fruits of the spirit, but they aren't quite the spirit. So we need to look beyond even the fruits and see right to God and the spirit, okay? Now, this fact, I'm just going to read it again. Looking beyond the human into the spirit cannot occur in a place of only seeing someone minus the spirit in the flesh. This is a fact and it cannot be disputed. It is self-explanatory. Marriage readiness can only occur by seeing that there is so much more to that person. For example, how will a marriage last if you base it on the flesh, how a person looks, okay? The interests they have and the things of life that you enjoy together. If that person changes somewhat, their appearance and or their interests as they grow and they develop, the one thing that's constant in life is change. Every part of a person constantly grows and develops, we would hope, certainly, and this is the case. Even and especially them spiritually and mentally. And so pinpointing another who is comparable and capable to understand this is essential for a marriage to work. We're going to look more in depth at this. All of these different items we're going to share tons from the Bible. I've been doing tons of research. I'm going on to do more today. There's more preparation. It's all coming in, and feedback is coming in as well. Continue to give me your feedback by messenger. And even if you have given me feedback before, maybe give me it again, just in case, just to make sure I definitely have all of your feedback. Now, of course, we're all communing in the spirit, but as you do this in an earthen way, as I'm asking you, this is me also facilitating you. So I'm facilitating all of us together, but I'm facilitating you as I ask you. It is giving you a boost in your knowledge as well, because you're bringing it to the surface, and this is helping me too. So we're all being helped together, we're all facilitating each other, and we're bringing these ideas to the surface and making them manifest on this presentation so that we can grow in this and we can have a proper kingdom. And that kingdom goes throughout the world. So we have a kingdom together that can cooperate, can understand, can better themselves and enjoy this betterment together, which we all deserve as a world. I will speak to you really soon, and I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction, just a little snippet of what is to come on Friday at 9 p.m.